Okay, if you're an intermediate drummer and you're feeling stuck, bored, or practice just isn't working for you anymore, this video is definitely for you. I'm going to run you through some tips that are going to stop you from getting bored and lazy in your practice so you can start to see some real progression. So let's get straight into it. Okay, for the first point, I want to give you a quick reality check, is that at the intermediate level, your progress is going to slow down, it's natural. You're not going to be learning sort of a new technique every lesson, you're not going to be doing something amazing and wow, this is great every single lesson. It is going to slow down a little bit. And what I want you to be happy with is actually refining stuff you've already learned instead of just wanting to learn something new every single lesson. That brings me to my point of being bored does not mean you're plateauing. Boredom is often a sign that you're actually growing and developing your drumming, not that you're stuck at the same phase. And just because something's hard doesn't mean that you should stop because you're bored. And if you quit just as you're getting into it, you're going to really miss that depth and repetition of repeating the same action that is definitely difficult at the moment, but once you get those reps in over a couple of weeks or so, over that longer time frame, you're really going to get that bigger depth in your drumming and you're going to be more technically proficient in your drumming as well. And what I want you to try and notice when you're getting bored is the activity you're doing inherently boring or is it just difficult? And if it's difficult, try and embrace the challenge a little bit and that sort of open your mind to becoming more interested in the drumming that you're doing. Okay, moving on, the next thing is that I want you to practice stuff that you're bad at, not stuff that you're good at. And it sounds pretty obvious, right? But I feel like a lot of us, including me definitely, tend to slip into our comfort zone of finding something that we really love to play, that we're really good at. Just sitting at the kit, playing that, not really challenging ourselves, and yeah, you're missing out on such a range of new things that you can discover. Just because it's tricky and it's hard doesn't mean you should avoid it. So I want you to get out of the comfort zone, into your discomfort zone, but crucially, I want you to have a structure to how you do it. So if you sit down, oh, this is so hard, you just stop, right? Fine, go at it with a clear plan, a clear structure of how you're going to tackle that tricky thing. That's going to help you stay more motivated to do it, and yeah, stop you from just slipping back into that comfort zone after you realise, wow, this is actually quite difficult. Okay, if you are enjoying the video, make sure to stick around because we go into the more nuanced points as we get on through the video. So yeah, thank you very much for watching up until now. Right, next up, I find that a lot of intermediate drummers would actually slow down on their technique practice. Why? Your technique practice should never ever be ending. It goes from you sort of learning these big concepts of techniques, you've got your molar, you've got your double strokes, to sort of refining them, finding these different types of the styles, finding one that fits you, one that fits the music, and refining it, and it becomes more about the music and less about how you're actually doing the technique. What technique is fitting the music and how can I apply this technique to what I'm actually playing? And it just becomes more specific as you go into sort of upper, intermediate and sort of advanced drumming. And if you find technique boring, I'd urge you to try and use it to solve problems. So say you've got this song that you can't play because it's too fast for you. Maybe work on a new technique, see if that can get you up to the speed you want to play. See if you can find a new technique to get you that sort of double bass going as quick as you want. And yeah, I use it to sort of solve these problems that you've had in the past you can bring into your new drumming with new techniques. Okay, a common thing I see in intermediate drummers when their progress stall is that they actually just add more and more time onto their practice sessions. So 30 minutes becomes an hour becomes 2 hours, your practice sessions become longer. What I'd say is a better idea is actually improving how you practice. So keep that 30 minutes, because just adding more time without a clear focus of how you're going to play, how you're going to improve your drumming in that practice session, is just going to lead you to burning out instead of you getting better at your playing, which is going to mean that you stall more instead of breaking out of that so-called stall and moving up into the next level of drumming. So what I'd urge you to do is add more clarity to your time practicing, more sort of technique focus, maybe a bit more concentrated practice instead of playing your favourite grooves. That's going to lead you to not burning out from that extra time and becoming a better drummer. Okay, I found from my experience that beginner drummers tend to get loads and loads of feedback. Wow, that's wrong, fix that now. That technique's wrong, you're playing too fast, you're playing too hard. And that quickly leads them to sort of developing their techniques and not having long-lasting mistakes because they're not being corrected. Advanced drummers, on the other hand, are so good at drumming that they can sort of self-diagnose their problems. They kind of notice, wow, my technique is sort of off there, I should try and fix that. Intermediate drummers can't self-diagnose quite yet, but they also may not have that sort of fast, sharp feedback that the beginner drummers get. So what I'd urge you to do, find a friend, find a mate, find maybe an online teacher or join like a sort of online group. Just post videos of you drumming and get feedback on what you're doing. Get them to tell you what you're doing wrong so that you can quickly fix mistakes that might turn into long-term problems if they're not diagnosed quickly. And it sounds sort of really awkward at first, like I'm not sure these people even want to see my drumming. Even just posting a picture of a video of you doing some drumming and getting some feedback on it can sort of help you find mistakes that you would never ever find as an intermediate drummer that could sort of break into these long, horrible mistakes if they're not fixed quickly. Okay, have you ever found yourself comparing yourself to other drummers, maybe to someone who's a lot better than you? I don't really see this point in this sort of thing. I'd say you should just be comparing yourself to you, what you're going to look like maybe in a couple months' time when you're drumming, what you looked like a couple months ago while you were drumming, and sort of comparing you to you, not comparing yourself to, like, I can't remember his name, but I'll put a video on the screen of that guy that just does those crazy chops on Instagram. I just feel like it's a pointless comparison that's sort of demotivating, and you shouldn't be comparing your day-to-day progress to years of sometimes these professional drummers have had to become obviously a lot better than you, and I don't think you should be comparing yourself to them. Also, because the progress is happening in your drumming, you just can't see it day to day, and you're never ever going to be able to see it if you're constantly comparing yourself to some unbelievably technical jazz drummer from 50 years ago or an amazing rock drummer from now. So yeah, just keep focused on what you're doing and not what other people are doing. Okay, a big thing I see in intermediate learners is their practice becoming reactive. So they sit down, they're thinking, what should I practice today? That sort of bugs me a little bit. I feel like you should be sitting down at your kit, right? Unless you are really just in drumming to have fun, which is fine. If you're not trying to improve quickly, that's fine. Having fun is also very important with the drums. But sitting down being like, oh, what do I want to play today? I feel like you should be more intentional. You should be knowing what you want to practice before you sit down on the kit. So you can kind of sit down, make the most of your time. A lot of people don't have a lot of time to play the drums because they've got neighbours banging on the wall saying, like, what are you doing? You're taking all loads of time drumming. So just trying to be a bit more quick and intentional and sort of bring everything together into one intentional practice session instead of sitting down, oh, what do I want to play today? Oh, I'll just play the easy stuff, and yeah, sort of wasting a bit of time on the kit. Okay, moving into one that's sort of a little bit more difficult to understand is that's confusing familiarity with mastery. So let's paint the picture. You just learned a new sort of skill, maybe a new comping in jazz, and you think, well, I've got it, let's move on straight away to the next one. I just want you to slow down a tad. What you can do, you can slow it down even more, you can speed it up loads, you can move it around the kit. Basically, not just learning the surface level of what you're doing, but really analysing everything you're learning, thinking, how can I make it even harder, even harder, even harder, so you've really mastered it and got it, and you can use it in almost any context. And I really think that's a really important skill that separates those sort of intermediate drummers from the advanced drummers in terms of their mindset, not just their playing, but how they sort of analyse those things and really, really master them before moving on to anything else. Also applies to things in the past, things that you thought were easy in the past, you can then go back to them. Say you've only just developed this mindset of analysing things, go back to stuff that you've done before. This is then just going to build a stronger base. You go back to stuff before, you build it, you master it. Now you've got an even bigger, even more broad base to then learn new things on, so I think that's a super important thing to understand. Okay, now I want to talk about something that feels quite obvious, but even I do this still, is losing the ability to play slowly. So when you first start out with the drums, right, you're very comfortable playing everything slowly because you don't want to make any mistakes. That's fine. So you play it super slowly, you really get the feel for it, and you learn how everything fits together into the main groove, and then you speed it up. When you get to intermediate, I even see advanced people doing this. You just want to hop straight in, you want to get it bang, really fast, really quick, really impressive. But really, the skill, the sort of mastering the technique is learned at those really, really, really slow tempos. To take it all the way down, 50, 60 BPM, build it all the way up to where you want to be before just jumping in and expecting everything to come straight away, because it just won't, basically. And it also broadens out to a sort of broader point, like I'm trying to say, is that you can also cover a lot of stuff up by just playing fast. I feel like I've heard a lot of fast things, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And then I've asked them to play it slow and they're like, I'm not really sure how to do it, or their technique actually isn't good enough to play it precise on those two beats. You almost can skip over the beats or the timing when you play at that fast tempo, and it's really important to sort of be able to do it at the slow tempos as well. Right, moving on. Next, I sort of find intermediate drummers get a lot stuck practicing all the components of the broader picture. So you get stuck for ages and ages just practicing rudiments, or just practicing grooves, or just practicing fills, and you haven't integrated them into your actual playing or tried to use them in any actual playing. So basically what that means is when you come to actually try and use them in your playing, you can't, because you haven't practiced them. You haven't tried to integrate them, so you may be really, really good at singles, and then you're doing a groove and you try a really, really fast fill during a song, right, with your mates or whatever performing, and you find you just can't quite get it because you haven't really sort of learned the element of integrating all the skills together. So just practicing in isolation is a different skill to practicing everything together, and that's sort of something you can really work on, which I find is quite interesting. So therefore, yeah, your improvement isn't stalling because your skills are weak, because obviously you've been practicing your skills for ages. It's actually stalling because you haven't practiced it in context. And then, yeah, that's stopping you from sort of elevating your drumming to the next level. Okay, next up, as an intermediate drummer, I'd want you to start defining what your better actually look like. Because obviously, as you're a beginner, right, your progress is so fast that it's really obvious that you're improving. And at the advanced level, they're really, really good at setting these really precise goals. So they might be a certain BPM they want to get to on a technique, or a certain part of a solo that they're trying to transcribe and get good at and have a nice feel on. Whereas intermediates get sort of stuck in, they don't really know how or when they're going to improve next. So basically, just steal it from the advanced guys. Just take your goal of what you really want to be doing, set it, I don't know, a couple of months. I think that's a good time frame. You don't want it to be too short because then it's unrealistic, or too long because then you get bored and sort of demotivated to practice. So I think having that nice intermediate timeline of sort of 2 to 3 months and having a really nice specific goal helps you stay motivated and to sort of really define what your better will look like in the future. Okay, so once all these things stack up, boredom, comfort, lack of clarity, lack of vision, it's not really surprising that intermediate drummers find it hard to improve. Not because they're incapable of improving, but no one's told them how it changes at this intermediate level. That being said, if you have enjoyed the video, do make sure to go and practice all the things I've told you instead of just going and watching another YouTube video. Make sure to sub, watch another video, drop a like, and yeah, all my equipment is in the description. You want to go check that out, you can. And yeah, have a good rest of your day. Thank you.